I'm going to show you how to add some watercolor onto your bisque fired clay. So first you want to take just the pigment that you have woken up with water. You'll see I have like a really strong pigment there. You're going to twist your brush around in it like I'm doing here. Take some and put it on the mixing tray of your watercolor pan. So I'm just getting really strong pigment there. It's a little bit watered down, right, with the water that I used to wake it up. And you can see even on this bad paper that it turns out pretty well. I'm going to add some drops of water to it to get a lighter tint. You can see it's a little bit lighter here. You'll just want to make that as light as you need it. Then I'm going to start painting using controlled lines, controlled brush strokes. If you have any texture like I do with these lines here, that paint will just like go right into them and spread. So just know that. But my goal here is to get like one nice base layer. Once I've done that, I'm going to go in with a darker tint. So I went straight into my paint tray. I'm using that darker color, that darker pigment that has just been woken up with a little bit of water. And I'm kind of overlapping that to create a darker blue. So I have my lighter blue as my base, and I'm adding some stripes of darker blue. Next, I'm going to keep painting with other colors. So I'm going to do the exact same strategy. I'm doing a light color as my base, and then a little bit of darker color if I need to add some more pigment to my mixing tray to get like the desired tint that I need. I'm going to get that wherever I need it and right up against. I'm going to keep changing the tint of my color when I need to by either adding more water or more pigment. Here I wanted it to be a little bit lighter, so I was adding a little bit more water to that to kind of lighten it up. So I did more of a bolder yellow into a lighter yellow. Now I'm going to go to orange. I wanted to make sure I had the right color orange, so I'm testing it on the bottom. And I like it, so I'm going to go with it. And I want these colors to kind of blend together or like bleed together. So I'm going to paint that and then I'm going to overlap it in small horizontal strokes just into my yellow. So they kind of mix together almost by like overlapping the colors on my clay piece. I don't want to have like a straight line where my orange went into the yellow. I wanted them to more go together. Now, if I mess up like I did here, I use too dark of a shade. I'm going to get some water and I'm going to quickly just like put that water on my brush and put it in here and just try to kind of blend it in. So all I'm using is like either a really, really light tint of that color or just some water and trying to kind of almost like spread that around. You want to do that pretty quickly while that paint is still wet to be able to move it around. I'm on to moving to painting a different thing. And I'm going to use a lot of like just little horizontal and vertical lines and to get into all these small areas as I paint. You'll see that I'm not doing a lot of like hard pressure. I'm doing my fine lines, my horizontal and vertical fine lines, especially to get into all these little cracks right up next to the other colors, even some dots, some little fine dots like we practiced. And then don't forget about the back and kind of the bottom if you have little pieces that come together where you might need to get some paint. So tiny little fine lines. Now I wanted to add some texture here, so I wanted to have like kind of a plank look on my sailboat. So I'm using a darker tint of my brown, so more pigment. And I'm using little horizontal or vertical lines so that it's not just kind of a boring brown. It has like a little bit of texture and like visual interest to it. I'm going to keep doing that. And you can do that really to anything. It doesn't have to be a boat, obviously. But if you wanted to add some texture to yours, just using a darker tint or a different color of paint to do that. And then your last thing is adding any fine details. So I wanted to have a couple little details on my sail, and I'm really fine lining that very, very carefully, painting in between them with little horizontal and vertical strokes. And this would be my last details. Things like eyes, tiny little bits of texture on top, things that are really contrasting colors too. If I want to get into those cracks, you can see I'm kind of just using the tip of my paintbrush, making sure it's on its toes dancing like a ballerina, really light pressure, and then some little dots to get into those cracks.